Hello, this is Adam with DreamMade Productions. This video is made possible by the very kind donations of viewers like you. Thank you. If you are in a position to help this channel improve quality and grow, please visit my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below. Hello! So we're back to look at some more G.I. Joe toys, but first I found something. I did the Kenner Megaforce toys a while back. I'll go ahead and link that video. And while going through my one of my G.I. Joe boxes that I had in storage, I found one of the Kenner Megaforce toys in there with it. So here we are. I don't remember what this is called, but this was one of the two Kenner Megaforce kind of bigger toys that I had. I had some tanks, or rather I had some like missile launcher guys, I had some airplanes, I had that rocket ship toy thing, and then now I have this. Kenner Megaforce is a toy series that does not get its real due. It was an awesome toy series that I wish I had more of back as a kid. I played with these a lot. This mobile bunker thing opens up like so, and there's a helicopter pad in there for it to launch its helicopter. This helicopter got used for years and years as my one and only Battletech VTOL. Just like I used the little Kenner Megaforce tanks as stand-in tanks for a while. This thing was awesome. This would also make a cool Battletech support vehicle thing. It's got enough on there that it looks cool. So since this was in with the G.I. Joe stuff and I've already covered the Kenner Megaforce stuff, I just thought I would throw this in here at the beginning to go ahead and finish that off. I don't think I have any more Kenner Megaforce stuff, but who knows? There might be some stuff I forgot about that's in a box somewhere. First up for G.I. Joe, I can't remember if I've covered this already or not, but this is the Dictator. This was the vehicle that came with Overlord, or Overlord came with this vehicle. Don't really know much about Overlord. He was in a boss in one of the video games, I think. I never got to him in the comic books. I never really read the comics much as a kid. I don't remember him being in the TV show, even the Deke one, but I didn't watch all of the Deke TV show. Got this for Christmas one year when I was sort of getting out of G.I. Joe, but it was still a cool toy to have. It has a lot of play features. So the top here detaches to become a kind of flying hovercraft thing. I remember that in the video game. You would fly around with this. And then the bottom, I don't know if it was meant for this or not, but you could fold it around like so, and it became like a missile turret or another little vehicle. You could kind of sit a figure down in here and put his legs through here. Pretty sure it was not meant for that, but you could get more use out of it than just, you know, in its one configuration, or, you know, with its little hover thing detaching. This got played with a little bit, but like I said, at this point I'd kind of moved on to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and other things, so this was one of my later G.I. Joe toys. Still one of the cooler later ones. It looks like a vehicle that could actually exist. Moving from that, going back quite a bit in G.I. Joe history, I have this, which is the bomb disposal or munitions disposal little vehicle. This was bought, I think, at a yard sale much later. This I bought, I want to say, in my early 20s or something. I found it and bought it. One of its handles is broken. I think there's supposed to be an antenna or something there that's broken. It didn't come with the little bombs and like little mines or whatever little accessories that it was supposed to come with. This thing I don't remember ever being in the show. Maybe it was in the comic in the background or something, but I don't really remember in the issues of the comic that I had. It was never in any of those. So this never got played with. I didn't have this as a kid. It was just something I found for a few dollars later in life. This is the Dreadnought Swamp Fire. This I do remember having as a kid. It's in several pieces here. This got played with a lot. This was one of my early G.I. Joe vehicles. I don't remember if it was the first one or not, but it was certainly one that I had from a very early age when I got into G.I. Joe. This got played with a ton, and its shape reflects that. Almost everything on this thing is broken. The gun has a little nick out of it. It's just, this thing has seen better days. Still, I keep it around because obviously I'm keeping all of my G.I. Joe stuff. These were the toys that I played with for many years and were my treasures as a kid. I parted with some of my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, but this stuff I'm keeping. And this was a very early one. This was a Dreadnought vehicle. I seem to remember this being in one of the shows. I want to say this was in a Deke show, but I honestly don't remember. Maybe it was in that weird swamp or Dragonfire show or something. Anyway, this, if it was in one of the shows, it was not used very much, but I certainly played with this a long time. This was one of the few helicopters I had, and it got a lot of use. Next up, I have Serpentor's Air Chariot. This was the mail-away version of it. It came with Serpentor, who already showed off in the figures episode. My Serpentor did not come with his little robe because he was mail-away. But these little toys, these little vehicles were cool. This got played with a lot. I was not a big Serpentor fan when he showed up in the TV show. I always thought they should have just kept it to Cobra Commander. But he did look cool, and this Air Chariot was definitely a cool toy to have. I did not have the Trouble Bubble, so this was my little Cobra Flyer. Would have preferred the Trouble Bubble since it was in like every episode of the cartoon, or almost every episode, but this was definitely a cool toy to have as well. Next up, I have the Swamp Masher. This was one that I remember getting secondhand. I think there was a flea market or something we went to, and my mom bought this for me. This was when I was starting to get out of G.I. Joe. Once the vehicle started getting weird looking. This is one that looks somewhat okay, I guess. I mean, I get the theory this thing is supposed to roll, and then when it hits something big, you know, the tires flip over. I think the same concept has been used in real life for some experimental things. Really, what was the coolest about this vehicle was this chain gun. This thing was badass. This thing just looks awesome. This got taken off and used as a weapon, you know, for having played Doom and stuff. This got put in G.I. Joe's hands. It's missing one of the missiles. As far as I can remember, it was always missing this missile. And it was a toy that got used quite a bit. Was not one of my favorites, but you know, for getting it at a flea market, God, how old would I have been? Maybe 12 or 13 or something. Towards the end of my G.I. Joe line, I still got played with a lot, and it's definitely a cool little toy. One of the better ones of the later G.I. Joe toys. Next up, I have the Cobra Wolf, one of their Arctic vehicles. This thing was pretty cool. You know, for Cobra, it fit right in, and it is missing its ski sleds, ski torpedoes or missiles or whatever, and the canopies are broken. They just fall off now, sadly damaged. This got played with quite a bit. It was another thing that was bought for me at a yard sale, so it was secondhand. Yeah, this thing was pretty cool. I can't say that much about it. It wasn't in the cartoon, at least not in the Sunbow one. It might have been, actually, I think it was in at least one episode of the Deke show. But yeah, it was still a pretty cool toy. It fit in with the older G.I. Joe and Cobra toys. It had these little missiles that you could fire off. It had this turret gun that could elevate and spin around and stuff. So there was a pretty good number of play features on this. You could put two figures in the vehicle, and then you had up to 6 on the pegs here. So for a little vehicle, or relatively little vehicle, they squeezed a lot into this. It was just a cool vehicle to have, and it got played with quite a bit, even though it was secondhand. Next up, I have the Skyhawk. Yes, now this was a toy that got played with a lot as a kid. This was in the show, at least occasionally, so obviously it was one of my more favorite ones. This one's broken. The little clip here that helps hold on its engine is off, so this got taken off and used as a jet backpack with my G.I. Joe figure some, because the jetpacks got used in the show a lot and I didn't have the jump pack. This thing is seen a lot of play. Back when it was put together, it got put together kind of backwards. This side is supposed to be like this, but for some reason it's like this on my toy, so whatever. This was a very early one that I got as a kid, and it got played with a ton. These little toys were awesome. Yep, 1984 in there, Hasbro. You could put a figure in here. You could put a figure on the foot pegs, like riding on the skis of a helicopter. They did that in the show sometimes. It had these chin guns that could move around. It had these missiles that would detach, that would fire. And then it had these little sculpted on things here, which I don't know if they were supposed to be lights, but for me they were additional machine guns. Yeah, this thing got played with a lot, and I've had it a very long time. It is an awesome little toy. And it's one of those things that's just futuristic enough, but not so futuristic that it doesn't look like it couldn't exist in real life. You know, especially for a kid, this thing looks like it could be an actual military vehicle, even though as an adult, yeah, no. But still, as a kid, it looks reasonable enough that it could still look realistic. Next up, I have the Tiger Fish. This is the Tiger Force reissue of the Devilfish. I didn't have the Devilfish. This got bought for me for Christmas or my birthday or something at some point. As I've said before, some people don't like the reissues with the different paint schemes. I'm okay with it because it gave kids the chance to pick up a toy they otherwise wouldn't have had. It was also a good reuse of the molds and stuff, so it was profitable. So it makes business sense. It makes sense for people that missed out. Yeah, it would have been cooler just to reissue the toy in the original paint scheme and everything, but you know, whatever, what are you gonna do? This got played with a little bit. I didn't have many ocean water-based toys, but this fought the swamp fire some. It was used with the tiger shark, not tiger shark, sky shark, the sky shark some. It was definitely a cool toy to have, and it was awesome to get my hands on an older toy, even if the paint scheme isn't the best. Oh, and it had these cool torpedoes under it, which was awesome to have. It was just a cool toy with the missiles and stuff. Next up, I have my Cobra Fang. Such as it is, the blade, one of the blades broke off when I was a kid, and then the other one has since broke off since it was in storage. It wasn't like that when I put it in there, but you know, things happen. I had both blades at one point. Hopefully I still do. This thing, I remember, I think it got reissued a few years ago when they did some of the retro toys. This thing got played with a lot as a kid. This thing got used occasionally in the show. It was one of my few aerial vehicles. It has a lot of features on it. You can put a figure in here, of course. Figures can stand on the skids. It's got 4 missiles on it and a detachable bomb at the bottom. That bomb got used a lot to bomb stuff and as background, and even for G.I. Joes and Cobras to carry and stuff. This thing is an awesome toy with its little ball turret. Oh, this was one of my favorite G.I. Joe toys, and it got played with a lot, and you know, obviously got some damage to it. This little thingy would, it's rotary here, would spin. It was an awesome toy. Next up, we move to a really cool toy, probably my favorite of the later toys. This is the Storm Eagle. This is just very, if not a straight up copy of, it is very closely based on the F-23 Black Widow, or YF-23 Black Widow, the jet that was competing to get the contract for the F-22. There's a whole thing about that, about this thing being slightly stealthier than the F-22 and which one was the best one to take in real life. I'm kind of glad that Hasbro went with the F-23 to be the base, because it makes this thing even cooler since it's based on a failed prototype. Both the F-23 and the F-22 look awesome. This thing got played with constantly as a kid. This was bought new for me for one Christmas. It was in the early 90s. Right there you can see 1991. It had a play feature where you could fill this up with water, and it was a squirt gun, and I remember running around the house tormenting my mom's cat, squirting water at him as I chased him around. I was kind of a dick at that age, you know, what can you do? It was a cool toy that had the squirt gun feature wasn't needed, but it was cool to give it a handle so you could hold it and fly it around and get this kind of third-person view as you were shooting at Cobra and stuff, or annoying the pets. You had the missiles and stuff on it, and the decals were cool. This was when I went through that phase of not putting the decals on here, but in that paperwork, I'm pretty sure one of those decal sheets that I found in with my paperwork goes to this thing, and it is just a cool toy. And as a jet, it was definitely one of my favorite ones. I would have loved to get into a dogfight between this and the Sky Striker. Of the 90s toys, definitely a recommended. Next up, I have this. Oh, it's not going to quite fit, but this is the reissue of the Locust. This came out in the early 2000s, and the camera's not catching it very well, but this is an O-ring figure that's in here. It is probably a reuse of one of the Wild Bills. This thing was bought for me one Christmas by my cousin Jordan. Shout out to you, Jordan. If you happen to be watching this video, I remember this thing so well because by that point in my life, it was my mid-20s or so, and I remember back then everyone was giving me clothes and socks and tools and stuff. Childhood had definitely ended, and I tore open the wrapping paper, and this thing brought a tear to my eye because really it took me straight back to being a kid. This is obviously one of the toys I wanted as a kid and never got it. It was used in the show quite a bit as the Locust. Obviously, it is a Cobra attack helicopter, just renamed, and it was an awesome toy. This thing is still sealed as it was when I got it. It was on display in my office for a long time, sitting next to my desk. As you can see, my cousin got it from Toys R Us. Just an awesome toy, and yeah, good memories, both getting it that year for Christmas from my cousin, who's more like my brother, and just finally getting a toy I wanted as a kid and breaking up the monogamy of everyone giving me sweaters and socks and stuff and getting to relive the joy of being a kid again for a little while. This thing is definitely going back on display at some point. Finally, out of the G.I. Joe vehicles that I have around here, I have probably the cream of my collection, at least as a kid. I have here the G.I. Joe Havoc. This was bought for me new, retail. I was fairly young when I got this. It was one of my early vehicles, and I remember this because during Christmas there was a big box for me under the Christmas tree. I didn't get much else that year for Christmas, and I got this thing. We actually kept the box around for a number of years, and man, do I wish I still had that box, or really any of the boxes for these toys, because whoo, those boxes are expensive now. This thing had a lot of flag points on it. I don't even remember how many, but I remember we used those flag points to get some stuff later, and this thing got used a lot as a kid. This thing was the closest I had to a headquarters, and let me tell you, you could put a lot of figures on this thing. It had a ton of play features. So as you can see, it's got two big guns on the front here. You got these two little ones. You got these double machine gun things up. You got these missiles on the back. The gun would elevate. You could move it around. The canopy would open here. You could slide G.I. Joe figures in here. This engine cover comes off, and you could get to the engine underneath to act like G.I. Joes are working on the engine or something. And of course, this back opens up, and it had a little sub vehicle with it, with this little hovercraft that would come up. You could put a figure in there, and on the bottom here, these fans moved around to make moving the toy a little more realistic, you know. This thing was just awesome. It was an awesome toy to have. It got played with constantly. There are so many little doodads on this thing. These little tread covers come off so that you can see the inner workings of the tread in there, of the caterpillar track in there. And they slide right back on there. Yes, this thing was just an awesome thing to have as a kid. And of course, when you get a big toy like this, you're super excited. Oh, I got a thing here. Huh, I don't even know what that's to. Oh well. Oh. Got a handle in here too. Yep, don't know what that's to either. Some broken stuff in here. Anyway, got a little hovercraft. This thing was just awesome. I played with it a lot. Well, those are all the G.I. Joe toys I have, at least for now. I might have another box of them somewhere. If so, we'll look at some of those. I've got some more toys to pull out of my dad's basement at some point. We'll take a look at those. Until then, leave your thoughts below. Did you have any of these toys as a kid? Were you a big fan of Kenner Megaforce? Were you lucky enough to have a bunch of those toys? Did you have the Havoc? Did you have any of the other big G.I. Joe vehicles like the Raider? My cousin had the Raider, which was awesome. Let me know below, and as always, I hope you enjoy the battle reps that are to come. Hello, this is Adam with Dream Made Productions. Thank you for watching my content. It really means a lot that you have given me the chance to entertain you. If you would like to support the channel, please visit my Patreon at patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below. Also below is a link for PayPal, or links if you would like to send crypto, if that's more your thing. Please know any amount that you give will be cherished and used to upgrade equipment and improve the channel. You can also help the channel by subscribing, turning on notifications, liking, commenting, and sharing my channel with anyone you think might be interested. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoy the battle reps that are to come.